pleased to make your acquaintance, whether you're watching this live or when it published afterward. I get accused very frequently of being a person that does not care about things, who does not show much interest in stuff. Just kind of these terms that would be used to describe someone who is aloof in general. And oftentimes I've tried to contrast this by saying, hey, look, I wouldn't talk about the political stuff as much as I do if I was just completely devoid of any interest, right? But I actually was making the argument that I think it's a lot more about people just sort of wanting to believe a person has like no redeeming things whatsoever because it fits their own like narrative that they've built up in their head about that person. So you remember the individual who I described and said, hey, they picked this thing up, um, and then tried to pretend like they cared so much about what had happened months ago that suddenly their phone was not able to contact me because reasons that only make sense to them. But I use an example like that to say, you know, let's just say if I'm someone who doesn't care about things, that means there's a hell of a lot more that are much worse than me. But I was going to contrast this by saying there's recently been a development about two news stories where I think one of them was like a maybe 19, 20, some broad that was heavily pregnant that just disappeared out of nowhere, right? And another one that had the similar occurrence happen maybe a month or two before that. And I'm sitting here and I'm watching the coverage for it right on TV, and they're like, "Oh my God, we have to find them, and we have to protect the baby," and blah 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 blah. And you gotta understand, I watch with great recurrence, right, on places like Twitter, Facebook, here referring to YouTube, just all across the web on these different social media websites, where when you tell these people about the actual high losses of human life in the Middle East, right, constituted by the U.S. government bombing these different countries, like most egregiously Yemen, where they're having a literal genocide over there for money. Um, and I see this kind of pushback where, as I stated before, I had a friend on Twitter named Jennifer who would go around and talk about this war and get told by people from both parties that she cared about the wrong thing or her priorities were screwed up or whatever. And when I see that kind of reaction, and I see that the same people who are so obsessed about this woman getting found are the same ones who ignore that that's going on, just all these different lives getting completely lost, right? My sympathy and my kind of like desire to empathize with what they're feeling or just going through really drops all the way down here. That doesn't mean I want the person to disappear and to, be completely lost in the wilderness and whatnot forever. But it does mean that if it happens or if they don't find this person, I'm not exactly that tore up about it. I think those who are reasonable will be able to get that position. Basically, you have individuals who have shown themselves to not care about the majority of lives year after year, because that Yemen war has been going on for 4 years. But when some random broad who, let's just come out and say it, is only getting this kind of attention because they have a vagina, ends up missing, oh man, we gotta call the National Guard. Oh no. We say hello to Dirk. Did I say hello to you already? Sorry, man. My memory is just all over the place. I hope the other four people identify themselves. They post a message. They're like, reporting for duty. Um, but let's get to the title of this because a lot of times these titles seem a little weird, so I'll kind of go into it. Let me say hello to Cortez, who has disappeared for quite some time. I noticed that trend where people will just not show up for like a month or two and be like, hey, how you doing? What's up? Well, let me turn off my Discord. You know what? I'm so sorry. I just realized I still had Discord open. Let me cut that off and just blow it up right now. Actually, let me retract my previous statement because anytime someone uses the word explode, blow up, which I know is two words, but anytime those words are used, there's this weird sort of push to say that person's secretly a terrorist. So let me crumple my words up and revise what I was saying. Let me close my Discord server. I apologize, chat room. I am very sincerely sorry. Why do you even bother with engaging with these people. Oh no, I don't. I like to call myself a observer of things that I don't directly participate in. Well, again, we're getting to it, Mister Urban World. Yeah, I remember channel. Oh well, I have a lot of people who are subscribed and don't remember to come and show up, so that's nothing new. It is what it is. And again, we're getting to it. I'm not going to just spoil the entire thing right off the top of the bat. I mean, come on, where's the fun in that? When you watch a movie, you don't walk in there and go, "Let me go on Wikipedia and look up the plot summary." You check it out and review it and get an impression from there. Oh, so impatient. Let's see, Cortez. I haven't been on YT as much in the last month because of work. Oh no, I'm not. I want you to think I'm trying to directly condemn you over not showing up. People do that all the time. So no one's upset with you over that. I was just pointing I hadn't seen you in a while. I was like, oh man, reunite. And I'm not gonna steal someone's song, but you know where that's going. But anyways, you can figure where if someone watches the deaths of thousands of people be ignored by the media, by individuals who I'm not. I don't identify with that term. I respect their position, but I don't use those labels to describe myself. Now, if I can get back to my topic at hand, and I think you guys remember why I generally am disillusioned with the streams, because people like to just start talking about all kind of other stuff. No, Mister, if you want to know my position, and I was hoping to do a separate video talking about it, but to kind of give you a brief overview, any of those different groups that are like relating to males, being sick of chicks, they have my entire empathy. I don't join them because I consider myself still open to doing it at some point. But if they want to sit online and call chicks whores and say they're dumb, and you won't get any protests from me. Been down that road way too many times. But getting back to what I was saying, I've actually tried to explain that before. One of the misconceptions that comes from people having like the chick stuff and trouble with that and whatnot is that people like to project that onto someone's other relationships. So, for example, in my chat, or rather in my comment section, I had comments about my background. Oh, Ruben, you should have told me you were off work. We could have done something political. It's terrible. Yeah, Cortez, same thing. I'm not part of the group, but I respect the view. But getting back to what I was saying, there were individuals who started talking about my background, even though I've never, expressed it because it was not relevant to, most things that were discussed. At least I didn't think so anyway. But I did find it interesting that one of the comments I read was something. It was on one of the forums, which as we're all familiar, are basically the crack of someone's behind of the internet. And there was a person who said something to the effect of, you are using YouTube as an outlet to vent because you don't have people to speak with or whatnot, something like that. And it was really funny because I was thinking about a lot of the platonic interactions I've had where, and I think I've mentioned before, my tolerance for those are a lot smaller because like the thing with the chicks is that you put up with stuff from them with the hope that it'll eventually pay off with a date or getting screwed or something that is within a reasonable time slot. And if they do it long enough, you're just gonna say, okay, screw it. But in the case of a lot of platonic individuals, usually it's just me wanting to speak to that person and then them just sort of, acting a little, dumb or otherwise behaving in some manner that's kind of weird. I'll give you an example. I have a person, or I had a person I spoke with for roughly over a year. They were, met them on another website, and they have a screen name and whatnot. No pictures, and I don't care because you're talking to this person, just having a regular interaction. But I remember distinctively that they basically admitted that their function online was to mess with people while hiding their identity, right? Just go around and be a douchebag and haha, he doesn't know it's me. I said, look, You're not messing with me, so can you tell me your first name? Again, just first name, not location, nothing. Which I didn't think was that big of a deal because it's. I mean, that's something I've put out here for a long time. And so the person declines, and I go, okay, okay, fine, whatever, because I can live with the mystery. I'm not going to sit here and get upset about something so trivial. Over the course of the next year, however, this person pisses me off with some other stuff they talk about. This is the same individual, by the way, who thought if you didn't like The Last Jedi, that Star Wars movie that like half the people who saw hated, you have a mental illness. So you can kind of imagine like what sort of warped perspective they had on certain things. But you kind of just chug along. You're like, okay, well, just don't bring this topic up, and then you can sort of continue on with things. Um, and this individual, about maybe I'd say several months back, is like, oh, I want to tell you who I am, and yada yada yada. I said, look, man, you were given that opportunity over a year ago, and you chose not to do it. So you don't exactly get to pick and choose when you decide you're ready to do something if you've already decided you're not going to do it. It just makes you look flaky, you know. But this person became upset when I said this, and I said, hey, you can get as pissed as you want. You can throw your computer against the wall. You can, punch a window out. Doesn't make a difference. Um, and it was so funny to watch this individual who kept trying to insist that they were so bothered by this. Let's see. He was a guru. I remember that guy. I don't know what guy you're talking about, Cortez. The guy that some high level character that I'm not recalling at the moment. But look, he thought he was actually of some significance, and I said, look, man, all these little online interactions don't mean anything to me. You know why? Because at any point, the people you talk to online can turn their computer off, block you through whatever, and then that's it. And that's why I said that, one of the like worst parts of the internet is that people have allowed themselves to think it replaces interactions that are in real life. And very basic things, that you can't do in real life, you can do online. So like if you have somebody you don't want to talk to when you go to school with them, for example, or you work at the same place or live in the same neighborhood, it's a hell of a lot harder to just completely do away with them as it is someone online who you can block, you can stop speaking to altogether. Just you get my point that when you're in that kind of medium where people can literally pick and choose if they're going to speak to you and then just completely wash their hands of you the next second, you can't let your emotions get to a point where some person sitting on the other end of a computer is going to make you so depressed that they won't talk to you and they won't speak to me and win. You can't do it. And I get scared a lot of times because I think to myself, what would have happened if I didn't meet my and I actually had my best friend on here last year. We did a stream together. It was about 40 minutes. I'll probably link it in the chat room. But we were talking about the chick stuff. I said that's a person who, I don't talk to every day. I don't talk to sometimes every week, but that's a person who lasts long enough for me to be convinced they're not just going to like wake up one day and go, okay, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. And I really think that, it's so strange how you can have this person, for a very long time with no drama, no weird sort of attachments. Oh, please answer the phone when I speak to you. But then these people on the computer who don't know you outside of a keyboard and a laptop screen suddenly have some weird desire to just have all kind of interactions. And then when you say something they don't like, and remembering you're the one who doesn't even want to, they want to do this more than you, they get shocked when you say, okay, screw it, I'm done. And I think that people really don't get that. Like this guy sat here and I told him when it comes to online interactions, whether it's the romantic stuff or the platonic stuff, I put up with a little bit more stuff from the romantic crap, again, because the premise is this woman pisses you off, says stupid things, put up with it long enough, eventually it will pay off. or maybe it won't, but you still take the chance. I got to a point where I just stopped taking chances altogether. But in the case of the platonic stuff, no one's saying anything on here that you can't, that you can't live without, basically. Um, if you meet some nerd online that's still going, "Oh, I like that movie too," you can meet somebody in real life who's saying the exact same thing. But to answer Mr. Uberworld's question, am I saying your name right? Yeah, I think so. When I was speaking to this person, one of our last conversations, and they were talking about, "Oh, you really mean to tell me that after we've spoken to each other for a year, you would just stop talking altogether because I said something that made you mad?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Why?" I said, "Because I don't care about none of this trash. What's like getting upset because someone stopped talking to me on the computer?" But that's the whole point of the internet. You get people you talk to for a little bit or a short amount of time. Someone decides to cut the plug, then you meet somebody else, or you just stop getting to a point of even trying. And guess what? When you don't try, or if you talk and just kind of do it casually, like I do, where you anticipate that this could end at any point, it doesn't bother you when the person stops speaking to you. And that's my thing. Like there's too many people that like don't have thick enough skins to just say individuals by and large that you encounter online or in person are going to see you as expendable. Like I don't know how someone can think in their head that because for 365 days straight, or even shorter in a lot of other people's cases, because you typed all this stuff to this person, now you're their best friend and you know everything about them and they love you and they would never leave you alone and you guys are good buddies and you're going to be friends for life. Like, no, man. That's the Pixar version. I can't think of a single person who just stays and interacts and then, oh yeah, let's go meet in person. The only times I've ever tried to do that with anyone online were some broads, and even then, it still is like, they don't really like to think too much about what they're doing in some cases. Let's see. Dirk says, "How I'm upset. How dare you stop talking to me after I already told you I don't care about you? Ridiculous." I had the same thing with the. Now remember, this was a romantic conquest of mine, but the chick said it was all platonic. This broad over a year ago goes, "Oh no, I don't want to have anything to do with you. Go away." And I speak about her in a video days after this is supposedly over. So I'm like, okay, she spent in our last interaction saying, marry me. You're not significant. Blah, blah, blah. And so I go, okay, fine. You know what? Your feelings are not significant to me anymore anyway. So I'll discuss you and talk about your stuff. And then she calls me. How come you decided to talk about me and mention how I was? Like, because I don't care about none of this trash. If I want to entertain my audience by talking about how stupid you were when we spoke to each other, I'll do it. And guess what? Because we don't say your name. And in the case of her stuff, I didn't even put up any of the screenshots. You can't even prove it was you. You can live with the silent torture of knowing someone talked about you in a video, because apparently that's all it takes to get someone to feel horrible about themselves. Oh my God, this person spoke about me online. It's like, man, you know how many times been talked about online? It's like, oh well, the whole point of this of interacting on here is you are susceptible at any point to have someone say something you don't like. Cortez says that's why I ignore 90% of women. They have too many mental issues from these days. No, Cortez, what it is that, and I agree that there's a lot of ones who just do things I don't understand. What it is that these people, by virtue of there being a surplus of guys they can talk to at any point, like just always trying to talk to them, they kind of treat all of the males except for the one that they like the most, and even that person still gets treated like trash, like they don't matter. And so I try to keep in line with that. I think that mentality actually should be adopted by people when they go online, period, because I've seen too many individuals like actually start having mental breakdowns over a person online not talking to them anymore. Just like with Dirk right now, I'll give you an example. He's been in my streams for over a year. If he one day decides to not show up anymore, I'm not gonna start crying and go, I wish Dirk would come back. He was in my stream for a year. And oh my God, where did he go? Because I built it up in my head to say that I am an optional component of this person's life. That at any point they can cut off, they can stop talking to, they can completely ignore, they can pretend doesn't exist. Any adjective or term you want to use to describe getting rid of something is applicable to me if he wants. He chooses to come here, and I've said I appreciate him for doing that. But again, he doesn't have to. Dirk says you mentally breaking down over something on the internet like that shows how unstable they are. Yeah. And like this dude actually thought that like somehow he was entitled to me speaking to him forever. I was like, no. But like I said, that was a person who had become much more worried about the interaction than I was. And I said that, you can kind of tell from those encounters. See, a lot of these people I talk to, they always, because I always say to myself, I have two friends, arguably one that I, know outside of the internet, whatever, one I speak to infrequently. Bottom line is that these are people who I just identify as actually being friends. And when I have these people online, it's just acquaintances. So when I see them like talking about, oh, we're friends and I have all these different buddies, like, okay, we'll go hang out with one of them. Like this same person who was losing their mind over me not speaking to them anymore was the same individual who said they had like double the amount of friends I had. I was like, okay, well then go talk to one of the other three people. Well, that's like when women get mad at they don't, even though they don't want them. You guys always have these little debates in the chat room. Everybody's arguing back and forth. What you guys aren't arguing, you just like responding back. I thought it was amusing because, like I said, a lot of times the streams I have a topic in my mind and then it gets changed and replaced by something else. So we're gonna do this upload on this person that blocked me for saying hello, and that story is not a significant thing because of the person who didn't want to speak to me, right? I just think it's really stupid to do that because you barely trade any messages. But like I said before, a small event makes something that's much bigger. In the case of what I'm talking about, you have an individual who I've spoken to for 2 years, who runs this site or is the head chief or whatever. Now they were contacted by this person to like say who I was or whatever, and they apparently couldn't bring themselves to go, hey, I know that person, I talk to them all the time. But I said to them, I was like, hey, you want to stop speaking? Because they're complaining about, oh, you always say this. Like, no. We don't need to have a dialogue on your perceived inadequacies of how I interact with you. If you want to stop speaking, if you want to stop talking, just say it. I will be gone. I don't care about these message boards. I don't care about Twitter or Facebook or our friendship, the one-sided one because they say it is, I say it isn't. I don't care about none of that trash. Because the people who are involved have shown themselves with great recurrence to not care about actually doing the thing that they say they're interested in doing. So that already, I know, sounds confusing. Let's break it down a little bit further. If I tell someone that I'm friends with them, but then I complain that, here's 10 or 11 different things you do that piss me off, how the hell are we friends? Like, again, with my friend, the one that goes to school in another state, I literally can't think of more than maybe 2 things he does that upset me. I am perfectly fine with the way that person is. The 2 things I'm describing are schedule conflicts. Like, I wish we could speak more often, but he has a lot of stuff he does. So again, I'm not going to go to him and go, I wish you would do this, and I wish you wouldn't do that, and I wish you wouldn't do this. Like, look, the same people who do that and are whining about all these horrible, accursed things you do and the things you don't do are the same ones who are trying to convince themselves that they want to be friends with you and that you also want to be friends with them, even though you don't. Cortez, or anyone else that's in the chat, Ruben or whoever. Imagine if I told you I want to be friends, and then we speak over the phone for like, I don't know, 3 months, and I go, oh man, here's 10 things you do that piss me off. When are you going to take that seriously? Are you going to say to yourself that that is someone I want to spend time around? See, what I like about my friend, the one that goes to one of the other states that you've heard on the channel before, is that he's the kind of person who does not bring any conflict into my, like when I see a phone call from him, I get excited because I know I'm going to talk to a person who is not going to whine, is not going to, when they, if they do complain about something, it's going to be stuff relating to themselves, which is what I do as well. I go, hey, this voice actor pissed me off. This, just stuff like that. Not, oh my God, person that is my friend, I'm so disgusted with you because you talk about your life. I mean, how can I expect someone to talk about what's going on with themselves? Why would you ever confide something in me? Yeah, Cortez to the right. No. Okay, Mr. Uber World. Yeah, says after high school we all went our separate ways. I'm not making many on money online. Everyone else is into making weed slash getting drunk. Not a good combination. Yeah, people do all kind of dumb stuff. Like try to make friends online and do a terrible job of actually being nice to the person that they call their friend. I mean, I can think of so many little nasty stuff these people wrote to me. I said, look, you're not doing yourself any favor because you're the one who's saying you want to speak to me. Oh no, please don't stop responding back. But then in 2 more months, you're gonna be back doing the same exact thing. Like they really don't get the oxymoron. And I think it's so comical. The more I sit here and I kind of think to myself about interacting, I realize that the friend stuff for me, like just getting platonic relationships, has always been the polar opposite of the romance stuff because I've always had at least one person, if not two, that I had no problems with whatsoever, like their personality and whatnot. And because of that, I don't go online looking for buddies or pals or homies. Um, it's it's so funny because it's like you have to it makes you wonder to yourself, maybe if the chick thing was just a little bit different where you got one person that you just were constantly involved with, you probably wouldn't go online and look for it. But I like how they try to use the chick stuff to assume things about the platonic stuff. You get my point? That they have to like lump you into this box that you can't have any kind of relationships of any kind at all whatsoever. It's like, no, I can actually get along with a lot of people that aren't, trying to catfish you online on different social media websites and stick pictures of their behinds on social media and then tell you that, they're being objectified. Like, it's not hard for me to do that. Dirk says, yes, you have to be friends with someone like you, not finding someone that you hate damn near everything they do. Cortez is laughing. I don't know if he's laughing at me or Dirk. I know Dirk was a comedian in a past life, so that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I'm just saying that if someone wants to be friends with another person, I don't think the way to do that is to sit there and list 10 things you hate about them. Like I had this person complain about my sense of humor, speaking style, all just things that I'm not going to change for someone that there's no reason for me to keep. Basically, is what I'm saying. Like, think of this: the same Dirk that was able to, let's say, just again in this example, I don't know, I'm not gonna like assume stuff about it, like, but let's just say the same Dirk that was able to, graduate from different schools and hold jobs and take care of himself is the same one I'm now gonna whine and complain about the personality of because he won't talk to me that often or he speaks the way I don't like. After she's twerking to the yeah. Man, look, I've seen so many of these different. I really wish I didn't have my rule to sometimes, like, of just not showing any pictures or playing anyone's like actual voice. Like I remember there was this one that I spoke to the year before last, and she was on Instagram, and she had some picture where she was kind of like in this angle, but you could see her behind, like right in front of the camera. I was like, you're gonna put that on there, and I'm supposed to just go, oh yeah, yeah, that's definitely someone that I want to be, involved with. Actually, think won't do anything that is obscene or otherwise embarrassing. Yep. Okay. Every time I open Instagram, there's a chick. Hate to say it, but I'm tired of it. I'm tired too. That's why I don't go on Instagram to do anything other than post a story about the news, and that's it. Because they've literally turned the entire website into just absolute garbage. Like there's nothing good about that at all. And you actually have some underage individuals doing it. And then if I tell them and say, hey, I don't want pedophiles looking at the pictures of these children, I'm spoiling the fun. So there actually was a classmate of mine when I was in 12th grade. So this is legal, but it's still kind of disturbing. Who had a man who I think was in his late 30s or something see her little stupid, and I didn't see her profile because I didn't find her attractive, but you can already guess what's on there. The guy was like, oh, I want to do this with you, and ha 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 ha. And she was so disturbed and whatnot. And I guess I can kind of empathize with that, but do you not see how you put yourself in that circumstance? Like no one besides me gets how that's you're basically upset that this person. I mean, like think about it. If I go on here and I post a picture, no, not even that. If I do a stream and I'm wearing, let's say, a nothing, right, except for maybe some briefs. I'm like, oh, I'm going swimming, and I have a bunch of chicks in the chat room talking about, I want to touch you all over. Do you not get where that particular appearance kind of calls for that attention? Like, it's just, I don't. Why do people make it seem like it's such a big deal to say, hey, if I didn't do this, this probably would be a hell of a lot less likely to happen. But that's too problematic. It's a yeah, it is that type of site, Cortez. They've definitely turned it into a place of just. I mean, you have all kind of escorts on there that want to make you believe that they're actually doing a real job versus you know uh, they actually want me to go. Oh yeah, she's a definitely just gonna meet that guy at his house just to have fun, just to watch a movie and play a video game. Yep. But no, going back to this platonic relationship thing, I had another person who, um, I've spoken to for a couple of months. I mentioned them here and there on the channel, but I'll probably be more at liberty to talk about them in the next coming days, depending on some stuff that happens, subsequently. And I was like, dude, you're not fooling anyone if you don't contact me. Like, it's the same exact thing with the one that came over here to get the package. They sit up here and they look you in your eye and they say, I care about you. And in this digital era where we can all speak to each other every single day because we're all connected via these cell phones and these computers and the internet, you're going to tell me that you didn't contact me all year, or something close to a year, but that you were so invested in what was going on. It's like you're saying that to trick yourself, and then gonna act surprised when you get told to get out of here. Ask me, oh, do you feel bad about the way you spoke to this person who wasted your time and then complained after getting treated, discarded for wasting your time? No, I don't care about none of this trash. Want me to feel bad for someone that didn't feel bad about wasting the time of me and another person that was trying to do something important? Again, what kind of Twilight Zone are we living in? They want all these things, but then they can't give the same thing in return. Like, imagine if I go into a bathroom, right? And like I really hate it when they leave the toilet seat up, and then I say I decide to leave it up, then I come back in there and then I get mad when the person who came in there after me leaves it up like I did. Like, no, that's a double standard. I want them to put it down, but then I'm leaving it up just like them. Same thing with these people. I've literally had parody conversations in text because they can't tell my tone where I'm like, I have a problem with you. You don't respond to me in a certain number of days, and you like this thing, and I personally don't like that. And they'll go, "Oh my God, why are you doing?" And like, you really don't get how this is mocking your own depiction of yourself. You sit here and you type out these essays about all this stuff about me you don't like, and then when I do the same thing, oh my God, I'm so offended. What an egregious act. You could tell Ruben got bored. He stopped commenting. I'm sorry, Ruben. I'll do something political soon. I promise you. Don't worry. My one Patreon person will never be forgotten. Certainly not. I just usually on Saturday there's like a basic general topic stream where I just kind of put the title and then go further into it. But I'm serious. People need to adopt the mentality of the title of this stream of not caring about any of this trash because that's all it is. All these little online relationships. Oh my God, you're my best buddy in the world. That's why I'm gonna block you if you hang out with this person I don't like. Get rid of them. Throw them away. Say screw you. Or better yet, you know what? Don't say anything at all. Just let them wake up one day, send you a message, and never hear anything back from you. That's what I've done in a lot of instances. I have one of them I literally only contacted because my friend, the one that I've mentioned here and there, basically just to like show him how dumb they were. I was like, yeah, let's joke about this to entertain him. I was like, yeah, man, this person's insane. Gonna sit here and list 20 things they don't like about you, and then you're supposed to go, I really want to talk to that person. I really would like to keep speaking to them. Oh, did I read Quartet? No, I didn't read your comment. Yeah, when they have uh booking information, we know what that really means. Oh my God. I wish my phone wasn't depleted of energy. I'd be able to see the comments a little bit easier. I wouldn't have to keep turning and twisting and moving. And I'm almost glad I'm doing that now because you're getting a little bit more. I got told by one person I was bland and stale and crusty and dry and all these other terms. So I'm doing some interactive stuff where you get to see me moving around and shaking and reacting and throwing my fingers and whatnot. It's all excitement. Watch me get accused in the comment section of having ADHD from that. They'd be like, why is he touching? Why is he putting his hands over there? I'm so disturbed. Man, people they read so much into everything now. I feel like the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the reason for that. Like, they put all these little Easter eggs that are only on camera for like 2 seconds. And then, like, supposedly every single thing you see that is just in the background is like a nod to something from the comic. It's like, oh, remember that happened 30 years ago in this one book? That's why we have it in the background. So now, like, when anytime you do a stream, somebody's like, did you just see his hand move? That hand movement meant he was very affected by what that person said. Like, no, it wasn't just me moving my hand a little bit just to kind of bounce it. No, that's the real reason. Like, they've taken Cliff Notes to a whole other level. Man, if people were this good at analyzing how someone acts and this attentive to how someone's doing stuff, we might be able to stop a couple of these online interactions from failing. Let's see. What do you think about the new Sonic trailer? I don't think much about it. I think that they like, I don't get when they make these live action versions of cartoons. They can't just make it look like the cartoon. Like, it's the same problem with the Turtles movie. They have this weird thing about trying to make stuff realistic, and then it fails because it's not supposed to look realistic. It's supposed to look the way the person who created it drew it. Jesus. People always just change stuff to change stuff. That's how they operate. They were on drugs when they make it. I remember I used to have a joke about the DC movies, like before they had the DC extended universe, Mr. Little Sky Clank, the Sky. I had a joke that like every single DC property, whether it was Superman or Batman or Green Lantern, they all had these little rooms next to each other, and then like all the different rooms had people acting one type of way, and like that was why movies were in certain stages of development. Like in the Wonder Woman room, which that movie they started on it back in '96, so that movie took 21 years to be made. In that room, everybody was just sleeping, and then somebody wakes up, writes a script, and they go back to bed. Then the person who wakes up tears it into pieces and shreds it. And they go back to bed. Another person writes something else. They go back to bed. Just that was why that movie took so long. Then in the Green Lantern room, when they made the 2011 one everybody hates, whoever made it wrote the scripts was smoking, and then the director was getting paid $5 an hour. He was like, whatever. And then the new one that's coming out, next year, The Corpse or whatever. I think it got pushed back. I'm not entirely sure, but whoever is doing that one is maybe actually awoke. We'll wait and see, and then we'll be able to know what the problem is. And then in the Superman room, they made Man of Steel, and then like the sequel to that, everybody just keeps having it's like writer's block, just with telepathy. Like no one can think of anything for that movie. Happy Blade is coming back with Wesley. Yeah, that really is an underrated. That film is very. It's another one of those movies that's responsible to an extent for what we have now, and it gets no kind of attention brought to it, like for no reason. Is Horrid compared to Reynolds' Deadpool? Oh, you mean in what the one from Origins, the one that has like the mouth zipped up and closed and sliced and whatnot? Let's see. Dirk says, I feel like I never finished Blade. Oh, I don't know if you did or not. I have to evaluate your. Imagine you watch a movie like on the disc. It's like, you have now watched 65% of the film. Would you like to resume? Then people would actually be able to know how much of it they saw. Because I remember the first, when I saw Iron Man when it first premiered, I fell asleep because my, what did I go with? I just know that we went at like 11 or 12. I was tired. You know, they like to do that thing of, oh, we got to see on the first day it comes out. Because I remember absolutely nothing. I haven't seen it in a while either, Dirk. Well, not like I don't know when you saw it, but I'm saying that I don't remember much either. But again, it's because of the length of time that's passed since I saw it. Hancock Part 2. Yeah, that's another one of those movies that, like, I remember hearing about a sequel for it, it just fell through over and over again. Remember, we could have had that instead of After Earth, that horrid film that did so terribly. It's like that movie and that Catwoman film, the one that came out, I think when I was in like kindergarten, 2004, that are just like among the worst films ever made. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. That movie literally made 80 million compared to the 100 million it took to make it. That was a complete failure. Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's sad because I really like Daredevil. He's another underrated Marvel character. You could easily make a trilogy about him and have it be dark and mysterious and whatnot. Well, again, I'm not defending that film. I'm just saying that I like that character. Somebody that can't see having to just kind of fight all these, I like that. So, another property that gets screwed over because the movie that was made didn't do good. What another terrific thing. I don't know why they decided to the DC cinematic or extent, whatever you want to call it, the cinematic universe they have for that is really, like, I think every movie they've made except one has been critically and commercially panned. Like Like, damn. All over, just all across the board, it's all bad. Oh yeah, I heard nothing but rave reviews for the show, but that movie gets treated like it was the worst thing that was ever made. Yeah, Mister, I like that idea because, I mean, like he has the same appeal that that Oracle did, where it's this person who has a disability and they're being the hero. Like Oracle's in this wheelchair, but you have all this information and you can go around and help all these different heroes out. It's supposed to empower people that have things that you typically would associate with not being able to do much. It's a complete polar opposite. It's a wholesome subversion of what you would expect. I barely remember. What is this? Let's see. Kind of the Kenshi from Mortal. Yeah, Cortez. I mean, a lot of these characters have similar abilities, just like across the board. Coming to and Austin Powers 4. And we're getting so off topic. It's if you wanted a movie stream, we could have easily done that. I could have done a whole one on all these different films. And I'd be more interested in just kind of like discussing the development of certain films versus like actually talking about the movie themselves. Because like a lot of times, if a movie just completely fails, it kills the franchise. Like how that Green Lantern movie killed both of its sequels and a show that had nothing to do with it. So I'd probably be more interested in just kind of discussing the cause and effects of these films because they do have an impact on things that are sometimes long lasting. Anyways, getting back to what I was saying, when you go and you look at a lot of these online interactions and you watch people just sort of like tear their hair out about stuff. Like I saw this guy going crazy because he logs into his account one day and this woman doesn't like her. She closed her account down or something like that. Like, dude, that's the point of being online. That at any point, at any different time, you can choose to quit. And whoever you met on that site better hope that they have some other way of contacting you, or else that's it. It was really funny. I actually had a person I spoke to maybe I'd say 3 years ago. So I was, this is like right around the time of that last election, the months leading up to it. But I used to really enjoy just writing stuff back and forth with her. And she got thrown off this site. I knew her on another website, wouldn't respond back to me. I saw, all right, well, screw it. But again, that's because I have a certain level of patience, and then once that's exacerbated or otherwise stepped all over, that's it. It doesn't mean I say now that, oh, every time we interacted was so terrible and you're worst person. No, none of that. It's because I don't play revisionist history. But it is to say that when a certain number of things don't go the way you wanted it to, you have to accept that when you're online, that chance of it getting screwed up or going haywire it is magnified even more than it would be in real life. And just kind of adapt to whatever takes place afterwards. So, hope you guys have enjoyed the stream. To close us out, do I feel bad over not speaking to these people anymore after they wrote me a bunch of paragraphs about how horrible and terrible I was? No. Do I feel bad to not interact with individuals that say one thing and do the other, like the person who said that they cared so much about my birthday, but it took them 2 months and showing up at my house for a purpose that wasn't even over the birthday itself to speak about it? No. Do I feel bad that there are people who become interested in, let's say, having a long time interaction, and then when you say I'm done, they start losing their minds? No. So in conclusion, I don't care about none of this trash, and you shouldn't either. I thank all those who've come. You're welcome to go and look at some other stuff on here. But if you don't, hey, I tried. And I'm not one of these people that curls up in the ball and commits suicide because someone won't talk to him anymore. You got billions of people in the world. It's no one's worth getting that obsessed over. So, just accept what you can change and don't lose your mind over what you can't. I've never seen Mr. J at the end of there before, so maybe he'll show up after. One can only hope. So thank you for watching and have a good day.